Today we will learn about Longinus. I'm Dr. Jason Rathod from Government Arts and Commerce College, Netherlands. No biological details are available about Longinus except his age, and it is researched that he was a great philosopher from the 1st century AD. He was a Greek critic, and his ideas on aesthetic are influential and significant. Later on, when we study Romantic criticism, especially the Romanticism, then his ideas are very useful in the Romantic movement and Romanticism. And he is believed to be an author of a famous text called On the Sublime. And this work is believed to be written in the 5th century AD. So there are no details about the great philosopher, the great writer, right? It is just assumed that he was a writer of a book called On the Sublime. So he is a thinker, basically, from long ago in Greece. He wrote about sublimity. Sublimity means something big, something beautiful, something powerful. So these 3 words you have to understand. What is sublimity? Sublimity means something big, beautiful, and powerful, right? And that makes us feel amazed. Whenever we feel amazed, whenever we feel that it is very interesting, whenever we feel that it is wow, or you can say whenever you think about that aha moment, that it's aha moment, then it's beautiful, then it's interesting, then it's powerful. And about poetry, about poems, about literature, Longinus said that when you feel that it is an amazing writing, amazing text, that's sublimity. Sublimity is a kind of feeling. It happens when we see or hear something great. It makes us feel small but inspired. Example, a huge mountain or a loud storm can feel sublime, right? So it is a text which motivates you. It is a poetic line which inspires you, right? So that is sublimity. So it's a seminal work on literature and literary criticism. It explores nature and impact of sublime literature. And the book is divided into sections and it analyzes different aspects of sublime. In this book, each section provides examples from classical literature, especially the literature of the Greeks, right? Or you can say literature from the writers of Greece. The main themes include the power of language and emotional impact. Longinus emphasizes the importance of originality and grandeur in writing, right? So when you think that the lines are grand, when you think that the poetic lines or the verse is original and grand, it has sublimity in it. So he defines sublimity. What is sublimity basically for Longinus? Longinus says that sublimity is what? What is sublimity? Sublimity is what marks out truly great literature from the rest. So the first feature, according to Longinus, right, is it differentiates. It identifies great literature from the rest literature. I mean, it identifies that this piece of writing is significant. It identifies that this piece of writing is interesting. It identifies that this poem is remarkable from the rest, right? So it means one can identify the great work of literature, right, due to its feature that is called sublimity. So sublimity is the feature. It can be called, you can say, an identifier, right, or a marker. So it is a kind of identifier of great poetry, identifier of uh, remarkable poetry, remarkable literature. So whenever you find a significant work of art, it must have, according to Longinus, sublimity. Whenever you think that it is a very interesting book, then according to Longinus, it is sublimity which makes that book great, significant, remarkable, interesting, alluring, and miss you try to read it, or it attracts you, right? So words automatically attracts the reader. Words automatically attract a reader to read. So it motivates, the lines motivates you to read further. So that's the main thing about sublimity. Then the greatness of a work of literature depends on the feature called sublimity. So sublimity is basic, or you can say sublimity is a basis, right, of greatness of art or greatness of writing. So any text, if you consider a text great, then it must have sublimity. When you consider a text remarkable, then it must have sublimity according to Longinus. Now, so he differentiates between ordinary literature, ordinary text, and a great text. Ordinary text and a remarkable text. Ordinary text and a text which makes, or you can say, rouses your interest. So an attractive text, or you can say a text which rouses your interest to read, right? It has the feature, basic feature, that is called sublimity. While an ordinary text does not have sublimity. So when a text is considered an ordinary text, it lacks sublimity. So sublimity is a feature that must be there in a text. In other words, you can say that sublimity is a basis or a foundation of any great work. In other words, you can also say that sublimity is a marker which identifies a great text. Or in other words, you can say that an ordinary, very simply, an ordinary text, or a text which the readers, right, consider an ordinary, does not have sublimity. So sublimity is a feature of great work, while ordinary text does not have sublimity, or the work which does not have sublimity can be called an ordinary work according to Longinus. Right? Let me start about the next. Yeah. So an idea which I would like to share. Longinus says that sublimity is a basic feature of any book, right, which can be considered remarkable or significant, right? So he clearly differentiates between an ordinary text and a text which has many readers, or a text which has features which can attract some readers. So the readability of a text, the key idea here is the readability of a text is basically dependent on the sublimity of a book. So sublimity is a feature which decides its readability, or its popularity, or its fame, or its prestige. So indirectly, you can say that a text is popular because it has its own sublimity. Or you can also say that a classical text, for example, you can think about many books, right? Milton's Paradise Lost, or you can say Shakespeare's Hamlet. Why it is so famous? Every day a book is written on or with reference to Shakespeare's Hamlet. Why? Because it has sublimity. So ordinary text has no sublimity. Very basically, very simply, ordinary text has no sublimity, while extraordinary, or you can say great, or you can say significant, you can say remarkable text has sublimity. Now sublimity means a quality in writing, right? It is a quality in writing that feels grand and amazing. So when you identify a text as grand, when you identify as a text as an amazing text, right? Amazing book of verse, amazing book of play, or you can say as a it's an amazing, it's an alluring, it's an interesting poem, right? That is right. That is basically due to its sublimity. Now it makes reader feel strong emotions and lifts their minds. What is sublimity? Sublimity makes readers not only motivated and inspired, but also they arouse strong emotions and they lift, right? Their minds are lifted, means they are inspired with some grandeur, or they are strongly inspired by a book, by a text, and that is its sublimity. So sublimity makes you strongly inspired, and it arouses some strong feelings, right? Strong feelings in you. So he says sublimity is the echo of great soul. Very important line. Sublimity is the echo of great soul. So here he says that a writer who writes a book, and in that book he is successful in arousing some great emotions, strong emotions. If the book has sublimity, then the writer must have, you can say, great soul, must have been a great soul. Means a great person can write a great book. Indirectly, you can say that a great book, that is called great product, is manufactured by a great soul. So writing identifies a writer. This is a very important idea of Longinus. A writing or you can say a work of literature or a text or a poem, that is the marker of greatness of a writer. Means that is very important to identify a writer. Means great writer, or you can say significant writer, or you can say remarkable writer, can be identified by sublimity of his or her book. So he does not, means Longinus does not differentiate good book and ordinary book. He also identifies, or he also tries to differentiate between a great writer and an ordinary writer. So in an ordinary writer writes a book which has no sublime, or which has no sublimity in it. And that's why the product, right, is responsible to identify the person as an ordinary writer, right? You can say it differently, that if the book has sublimity, the writer should be a great soul, right? So it is there in his book. He says very clearly that sublimity is essential. If sublimity is there in a book, if sublimity is there in any writing, right, it helps the writer to identify, right, or to, you can say, to make it helps the writer to get some prestige, to get some popularity, right? So popularity, prestige, fame, these are, you can say, these are the results, these are the consequences, right? These are the outcomes, right, of a book which has sublimity. Now, main ideas on the sublimity. Longinus argues that sublimity is the ultimate quality in literature. So it is not an ordinary quality. It is not, no more, you can say, a quality which can have an option, or, right? So it does not have an option. So it's not an optional quality. It is the soul of a great work, according to Longinus. It is very significant aspect of a great work. So a great writer or a writer cannot ignore this feature that is called sublimity. So sublimity is ultimate quality, and he identifies factors such as grand ideas. So what are the ingredients, or what are the aspects which can help a writer to add some sublimity in a book. So how can a book become sublime? Or you can say, how can a writer write which is sublime? So he says that these are some grand factors, these are some significant factors, these are some remarkable factors. Number one is grand ideas. So the writer must have great ideas. The writer must have good ideas. Very important thing. You must have good idea to write, right? You must have good ideas to write. You must have great ideas to write. So writing is always inspired by great ideas, right? So if you want to become writer, you must have some great ideas. You must have you must not have some popular ideas. You must not have some, you can say, some cheap ideas or some trivial ideas. You must have some ideas which are unique in the world. So here is you can say, he also indirectly tells us about the qualities of a good writer. So he must have, number one, great ideas. He must have elevated language. Language is very important, right? So He must not use ordinary language. He must not use common language. He must use elevated language. So now, students, you must feel that, okay, what is an elevated language, right? What is an elevated language? Elevated language is a language in which you use metaphors, figures of speech, and you decorate the language. Later on, when you study Aristotle, you must, you can say, you must have that description in the definition of tragedy, right? So, so here he says that the language should be grand. The language should not be ordinary. The language should be elevated. It should not be common language. So the language which is used in daily life cannot be the language of a text, right? Then he said that emotional resonance, right? So emotional resonance is very important, a key aspect which makes writing grand, elevated, right? So see, emotions, elevated language, they are connected. Language should be emotive. One of my teachers said that whenever you write, your writing must touch the heart of someone, right? So it must be emotive. And these are the key elements. What are they? Let me repeat. Grand ideas, elevated language, and emotional resonance. Now, by aiming for sublimity, okay, I have a glitch. Okay, so let us talk. By aiming for sublimity, writers can inspire readers and provoke deep emotional responses, elevating their work beyond mere ordinary literature. So, what is the key aspect of good, grand, and great literature? He said that the literature which inspires the reader, which motivates the reader, is a good literature. It's a great literature. It's a grand literature, right? And it can provoke. It has a power to provoke. It has a power to provoke deep emotional responses, right? So a text must arouse some great emotions in readers. A text must arouse some significant emotional responses in readers. And these are qualities, or these are the aspects which makes a work sublime, right? So the work is not an ordinary work. It is elevated work. And what is the result of reading this grand work? Longinus says that when you read such a work, you are motivated, you are inspired, you feel somewhat great, you feel somewhat great emotions, right? So these are very important ideas of You can say Longinus. Longinus did talk about the, see, very important things. He talks about number one, how the book should be or how the text should be. Then secondly, how a writer can shape the text or conceive the text or write the text, right? And what should be the result of reading the text. So he talks about number one, author, number two, the product means text, and number three, the impact of writing great literature. Sorry, impact of reading great literature, impact of understanding some great literature, impact of experiencing some elevated or grand text, right? So according to him, true sublimity provides you joy. So you become very pleased, right? So pleasure is very important. Then it provides you a noble experience. It talks about some noble experiences. Then it pleases all men at all times. The very important thing is all men at all times. So a great text has an ability to please all men at all times. So it is not time bound. It crosses the boundaries of time. It crosses the boundaries of geography. So we read Shakespeare in India, right? We enjoy Milton in India. We enjoy John Dryden in India, right? Okay, they were there, they were writers from 16th century. Okay, we also enjoy Oedipus, right? Though we didn't know much about, you can say, the writer or the work or the culture. So it crosses cultures. It crosses the boundary of time. Means geographical hurdles are not there. Geographical limitations are not there. Time limitations are not there. So it pleases, it gets you pleasure, right? And time is not a constraint. Age is not a constraint, right? So it is called, you can say it in very simple sentence that it pleases eternally. It pleases eternally. So that is why it has popularity, right? Eternally. It gets recognized by all men at all times, right? It is appreciated, enjoyed, and motivated, or you can say it can motivate, it can be appreciated by, or it is appreciated by, it is enjoyed by all men from all times, from different cultures and ages. So we should not have that cultural constraint. We should not have time, right? So 16th century writing. Even let me talk about our great work. For example, Ramayana and Mahabharata, right? Even Ramayana is produced, right, in new versions. Even the characters of Mahabharata or Ramayana, they are rethought, right? They are, you can say, they are recreated, right? Taking into consideration some contemporary, you can say, ideas. So they are great characters. They are great ideas. So Mahabharata and management is a topic. Mahabharata and psychology is a topic. Mahabharata and philosophy is a topic which is constantly discussed, debated from the ages. We also in current time, right, we discuss about the characters of Mahabharata, right? Whenever a political condition, whenever a socio-political condition is discussed, we discuss it in reference to the conditions, right, felt by the Kauravas or Pandavas or the characters of Mahabharata. Longinus says 5 things make sublimity. Number 1, great ideas, think big. See, First is great ideas. Think big and important thoughts, right? So a writer must think big, right? And a writer's ideas are very important. If your text is great, if your text is sublime, if your text is, you can say, grand, you must have great ideas, right? Then secondly, he says that strong feelings. He must feel strongly, right? So writers are not, you can say, machines. So writers are highly emotional people. Writers are highly, you can say, highly motivated people, right? So strong feelings show your passion in word. For example, saying the sky is alive with stars feel more sublime than the sky has stars, right? So this is very important example, right? That we just say that, okay, the sky has stars, right? No, the writer says the sky is alive with stars, right? So it is not, you can say, uh, it is not the use of common language, right? Commonly we talk just like the sky has stars, but for the writer, right, the sky can provide him emotions, motivations, and he's passionately associated or attached with the beautiful sky, and the writing is writing evidences, or you can say evinces his powerful emotions and great ideas. Third, good words. Choose beautiful or strong words. So the choice of the word means diction, right? Very important. So he has to choose some good, beautiful, strong words. Then good structure. Arrange words in a nice way, right? So the writer who is the, means writer who can create a work of sublimity, right? So or a work which is sublime, right? Has a feature. What is the feature? That there are some good words, some beautiful and strong words, and these strong words are having good structure. So arrange words in a nice way. And the fifth one is imagination, right? So writers are always imaginative. Writers can see, all human beings are imaginative, but the writer has a quality to pour, or you can say to share his emotions in words, right? So what is the difference between writer and an ordinary man? Both are emotive, both have emotions, both have passions, both have feelings, but a writer is a person who can share his image through words. So his words are very important, right? So his words are emotive, his words are structured good, right? Or structured, you can say, with some sublime or with some sublimity, and that makes his writing great. So example, the sea roars like a giant uses imagination. Now this sentence, right, like a giant, the metaphor is used, right? So, or you can say the sea is personified, right? And the personification of a sea into a giant, right? So that is the quality, or that is the feature of a writer, that he can make a micro thing into macro, or a macro thing into micro. He can write a word about some gigantic things, and he can also write some epics about some small event, right? So these are you can say qualities of a good writer, or a writer whose writing is sublime. So 5 sources of where did or where do the writers get sublimity? What are the places, or what are the things that are responsible to make a work sublime? That is grandeur of thought. So your thoughts, earlier I also, let me repeat, the thoughts must be grand. So your thoughts, a writer's thoughts must be grand. Then secondly, he must have that capacity to feel strong emotions. He must be a man of strong emotions, right? So if he cannot, or if he cannot feel strong emotions, he cannot be writer, right? So feeling strong emotions, right, is very important aspect. Then proper use of figures of speech and thought, right? So he can use figures of speech, figures of thought and speech very properly, very appropriately in his writing. Then he must use noble diction. The diction must be noble, no ordinary words, no ordinary language, right? No common language, no words which are used in common language. He must have some highly, you can say, highly decorative words, you can say highly inspired words, right? So the words are dignified. The use of dignified word, and the words must be arranged in a dignified manner, right? So these all things are called the sources of sublimity, right? So writer, according to Longinus, is an inborn genius, right? And he has the capacity to think grand. He has the capacity to think, you can say, think in an interesting way, think in an uncommon way, in a unique way, right? He has the capacity to feel strong emotions, and he can make a harmonious balance between the skills and his emotions, right? So uh, he can, he says that a poet is a harmonious, you can say, he has a harmonious balance between skills which he has or she has acquired and skills he is born with, right? So means he must be a genius. He must have some grand thoughts, and not only the grand thoughts, not only the strong passions, not only the strong emotions, but he can share it in words. And the use of words must be, you can say, lofty or grand, and the arrangement or the poetic diction must be grand and great, right? So not only that he can feel strong emotions, but he can also share these emotions in words, and words which are great, or words which are noble, words which are lofty, words which are misarrangement, means feelings, then writing, then words, then diction, and these all miss, and the arrangement of words, right? These all things must contain grand or some grandeur, according to Longinus. So sublimity makes writing and speaking special, right? So when you write something, right, and it does not attract audience or readers, then it has no sublimity. Then when you talk or discuss something, but it cannot it cannot provoke, or it cannot arouse interest in audience, then it has no sublimity. So sublimity is a key feature in good writing as well as good oratory, right? So if you want to be a good orator, you must have sublimity of speech, right? And if you want to be a good or great writer, or a remarkable writer, you must have sublimity of thought and writing, right? So it helps people feel connected to big ideas. Why should someone listen to you? Why should someone read you? Why means why do you read a writer, or why do you listen some leader or some speaker? We read the literature because it provides us great ideas. So you must have big ideas, you must have some motivation, you must have some inspiring things, right? So that's why the popularity of a book or a popularity of a person depends on his speech as well as his writing. The speech must have sublimity, and the writing must have some sublimity or some grandeur about it. Then he believes sublimity can change hearts and minds. So it is sublimity. Means if you are interested, if you are amused, if you are amazed, if you are is if you are motivated by a text, right, then you read. So the popularity or the fame, or you can say the prestige of a writer as well as his product, or his writing or a text, is basically dependent on sublimity, right? So therefore we see, after many ages, right, we also use the quotations from Shakespeare, we also use quotations from Milton, we also use stories from Mahabharata, stories from Ramayana, stories from, you can say, some great works, right? Why we also use some words from great works? Why? Because it has its own essential sublimity. So these are some repetitions, but let me discuss. Longinus lists various sources of sublimity, right? Great thoughts, ability to write passionately, right? Because it is written in a different style. That's why I'm discussing it. Write passionately. You must write passionately. You must arouse some passions, right? So there is a very good word, nowadays, that is called passionpreneur, right? You must be passionpreneur, right? If you earlier I have said in one of the lectures that um, if you read something, and if that reading provides you, you can say, boring experience, you do not read it. But the, you can say, the rule of any reading is that it provides you pleasure after 1 hour, after 2 hours, right? So reading is not a boring experience. Reading provides you pleasure, but you have to associate yourself to the book. You have to attach, right, with the writer, though he is or she is dead, right? So Longinus lists various sources of sublimity, right? Power of, you can say, the power of nature, great thoughts, ability to write passionately. He emphasizes the true sublimity arises from the writer's internal inspiration, right? So the writer should be internally inspired. The writer who is not inspired, he cannot be writer, right? So he must be internally, essentially internally positive, and you can say he must be inspired by something, some event. Then he can use the external influences of culture and experience in his writing, right? So culture is there in his writing, experiences are there in his writing. So writing is always not objective, writings are always subjective, right? So it's a mixture of subjective and objective point of views. Notably, he highlights the importance of imagination. Imagination is very important, right? The poet or the writer is always an imaginative creature, right? Or imaginative human being like us. But what is the difference between a common human being and a writer is that a common human being cannot share his emotions very powerfully in words or in writing, while the writer can provide you, you can say, multi-dimensional picture or scenario of an event with great, grand, noble diction, or with some beautiful words, some amazing words, some figurative words, some decorative words, right? Now he says, which are the drawbacks which prevents a work from sublimity. So if you say that this work is not sublime, why? What are the faults? What are the drawbacks? So the drawbacks he discusses, and the first drawback is turgidity, right? In which the author aims to write a work with grandeur but writes in bombastic and insincere style. So he can have motivation, he must have, you can say, inspiration. He aims to write a great grand work, but his style is bombastic, his style is insincere. So to, you can say, to prevent work to prevent a work becoming, you can say, becoming unsublime, right? You have to find out the fault, that is called turgidity, right? Mr. What is turgidity? Turgidity is writing in bombastic and insincere style. The work should be written. That's why I have mentioned it very clearly. The work should be written in grand style, and it should be sincere and serious and grand in all aspects, right? So that's why this is one of the drawbacks. Then he say second drawback is puerility, right? It's a childish behavior. The author's writing and ideas are shallow and lacking any real substance, right? So means your ideas should be great, your ideas should be significant, your ideas should not be shallow. Your ideas must have some essence in it. So the work should have substance. Ideas are great, but these great ideas are always you can say originated from some great minds, right? So that's why he said that the ideas should be great, grand, and some significant, some remarkable ideas should be there to you can say to prevent yourself from this drawback. Parenthesis, that is called false sentiment. When the writer overuses the emotions while it is not required, his or her works lacks sublimity, right? So you cannot see, you must use your emotion, your passions, your sentiments, right, very calculatively, right? If you cannot use it, if there is an overdose of emotions or overuse of emotions or passions, right, then the work, right, does not become sublime, right? So he should appropriately use emotions in his works with appropriate ways. So not only the emotions are you can say are there in a text, right, but the emotions are appropriately you can say used in a text, right? So the use of emotions in an appropriate way makes a work sublime. Then frigidity, being extremely cold or insensitive. I don't think that the writer who is a human being, or he should not be extremely cold and insensitive. But when a writer is extremely cold and insensitive, he cannot write in a sublime way. So his writing may not be sublime, or it does not have that characteristic or feature of sublimity, right? So he must be sensitive. Sensitivity is very important. So he should feel the joy and pain of others seriously, and he should not have tendency to find faults in works written by others. So he should feel. Feeling is very important, right? So he should not be insensitive, he should not be extremely cold, right? He must react to the situation, he must react to the event, right, through words, right? He should write about the event, right? He must not be insensitive to the experiences faced by him or her, right? Specifically him, right? So he must not be just a stone, right? Thank you. Then common faults in writing. He says that Longinus points out several faults that can hinder the creation of sublimity in writing. These includes lack of originality, excessive ornamentation, that is, I told earlier, that overuse of emotions, right? Like original, the work must be original, and there should not be excessive ornamentation, and the emotional engagement must be appropriate. Then language must not be simple, right? Ideas must not be unclear, and that's why the work or a text which captivates the reader must have sublime qualities, right? So these are pitfalls, these are drawbacks a writer must keep in his mind, and he must prevent himself, right, from these drawbacks. Thank you, and Vande Mataram. I wish you best of luck. Thank you.